Okay, hi people. Oh wait, BRB. Okay, we're back, people. So currently we're actually waiting for the best game ever to launch, aka Minecraft Jett James Edition. And Jaydanson. He creeper. I agree. Oh man, it's 9:47 and school starts tomorrow for you. Oh, F in the chat, honestly. Seriously, you don't have to watch this if you don't want to. You can leave if you want. But here, guys, you need to see this. So he's making this, like, a game. And this is the title screen. This is the title screen, and so it says Minecraft, and it says Unreal Engine 4 edition, but he crossed that out with pink, like Arial text, Jett James Edition, lol. So honestly, I'm pretty hyped. He sent me a few other screenshots, too, but yeah, that's about it. So, and it's gonna be multiplayer, so get ready. We're gonna be able to play it all together. It's gonna be super fun. Okay, hang on. Let me actually resize this so it like works with how it is. Wait 1 second. I'll read the chat in just a second. I'm trying to get things sorted out here. Okay, now we're good. I think. Okay. Minecraft Jett James Edition. Yes, and yes. Hi. Hello. Okay, what is it? You're gonna hate me for my new intro? I don't really care. I'll be taking chorus like I did last year, so not as much time to watch streams. That's totally fine, dude. I understand. Hello, it is I think you. Yes, it sure is you. Okay, I'm back, and now the lights are darker because sure. Yes. Also, please make me a GD count. Can you give me a mod rank on Discord? What's your Discord again? I passed Chris Credible and Juniper and Stars. Wait, seriously? That's pretty funny. That's a big GG. Especially Chris Credible, because he is big poopy. General... Oh, hey, he's here. Okay, you get mod. Okay, there it is. Wow, that's seriously just your name. You already have mod. You already have mod. You already have mod. I mean, like, yeah. Bruh. Okay, so let's actually... Bruh. Bruh. Yeah. Bib. Okay, Does it still track my face? I can't even tell. Okay, I don't know if it's trying to or not. Hold up. Let's see if it still tracks my face. Yeah, it still follows my face. That's weird how it's not really doing so. Hi. Okay, it's not zooming in. F in the chat. Nope, nothing. Translate your name. Okay. I'm interested now. Google Translate. Okay, detect language. That's not it. Copy. Paste. It doesn't seem to change. At least for me. It says it detects Chinese, but it doesn't do anything. See, look. Okay. Okay, anyway, let's... Okay, please shut up. I'll pass Pig Gamer and Star Student. That's cool. He actually remembered me. You know, Pig Gamer, he, like, commented on one of my videos, like, a year ago. I showed up on his stream a year later, and he remembered me. I'm like, how do you remember this, like, random dude you commented on? Like, it's crazy. Oh, it's just that? Okay. Take away... Oh. Okay, got it. Okay. That's interesting. Please. I've seen this a million times. I've seen that a million times, you realize. Like, yeah. Okay. Ooh, we got some spicy frame rate here. Let's bring it back down to 40. Max. Ooh, good frame rate. Okay, what the heck should we even do, honestly? Bonk. So, to give some information on this hack that not a hack, but this game that Jaydanson is making, it's a hack of... no, it's not a hack. It's a game, it's just a Minecraft port on the Unreal Engine. It's a super simple version of a Minecraft port on the Unreal Engine. It's creative only, but here's the thing, he's actually implementing multiplayer. I almost have 100 subs, just like my old channel, 180 subs. That's pretty good. Yeah. Keep going, dude. You can regain. Yeah, so it's X1. There you go. I have one-hit garlic bread now. We got the one-hit garlic bread. Let's get this bread. Okay, here we go, boys. I am going to... Okay, sorry, I'm back. Yeah, that was a bro moment. Okay. Anyway, yeah. Hey, dog. Wait. Game mode, survival. Keep. Wait, game rule. Okay, I don't like how close that zombie is up. Hi. Wait. Kill the dog, kill the dog. Okay, I will kill the dog, actually.
What?
Nothing.
I am confused.
This one dude on my Discord server, Jaydanson, he's actually making a Minecraft. He's using the Unreal Engine, aka what they made with Fortnite. But you know, like, yeah. But either way, they he's using the Unreal Engine to make Minecraft Jett James Edition.
Your mic is like
Is like what?
having poo-poo time.
Huh. Bruh. Sounds fine to me, I don't know. Oh yeah, I forgot to kill the dog. I need to kill the dog.
I need a lasagna.
Yeah, same. I tried to fly in survival. Guess who's retarded? Okay, there. Dog is dead.
You.
Okay, but anyway. There's... Okay, so he actually is making... So he's using Unreal Engine to make Minecraft Jett James Edition.
That sounds like absolute beauty.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, like, it's actually insane. He's like halfway done. And he's implementing multiplayer right now, so once he releases it, he'll be able to, we'll all be able to play it together. Okay. Oh, hi, okay, so you sent... What is this? I'm so confused what the heck this is. Guys, look, can I please have... Yeah, I need explanations right now. What the fuck that is? I'm very confused, honestly. It's just kind of weird. Okay, anyway. I love this song. Oh, it's your intro! Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. What the hell, fuck? I don't know what the hell, fuck. Honestly. I don't know either. Okay, we got Key playing.
For Cookie, and Cookie is for me.
Cool. Wait. What? I didn't even know that. You can double tap sneak to sprint. Also, I can hear myself like really bad. Like there's like a there's like a spicy echo.
Wait, off
what?
of...
Yeah, off of you.
I don't even know how.
Okay. Oh, now it's gone. It disappeared. I think. No, it didn't. Never mind. Hey, pig. Die.
Bruh.
I agree. Chicken. Yes, so hello everyone. So this is great. I'm literally just in survival mode. I'm just murdering everything with garlic bread.
With bread.
Yeah, so it's a garlic bread. That's very key difference there.
I like bread.
I agree.
Okay.
Committing suicide in Minecraft, gone wrong in the hood. Okay.
Oh my gosh, that's kooky. No way.
Yeah, it is kooky.
I can't believe that.
I can't believe It's not butter.
I can't believe.
I can't believe it's not butter. This cave is beckoning me to go in because I heard the hamburger meme. Because I have meme cave sounds on. Yeah, pretty much. I like it, but hey, but there's really no consequences going here because I can kill anything, including the Ender Dragon, in one hit. Two washing. The one hit garlic bread.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, I just gave it to myself. Let's start. Come on. I can destroy this. Come on. No, please. Okay, I'll have to use my... Okay, it is a lot faster. I don't know what it... Frick. Well, at least I have to keep inventory on. Garlic bread. That's a lot of damage. My glass pan just exploded in my oven. Well, that just makes sense, doesn't it? I don't know what what my chat is anymore.
It's lasagna flavored.
Yeah, it really is. Honestly, you're correct.
That just made me like gag. That was oh my god.
What?
Imagine lasagna flavored soup.
I actually never had lasagna, so yeah.
I like cookie. I like cookie. I like cookie.
Cool. I love that when you
I'm
like.
losing my mind.
Ooh. My lasagna is ruined. The chat is delayed, I know, but bruh. It's me intro. Yeah, I heard it. I knew you told me it was your intro. Also, there's still spicy echo. Do you not fix it or no?
No, I actually do not. So.
F. Whatever. It's not that bad. I guess I
Let me
compare.
re-plug in my thing thong.
Ouchie, that hurt.
Is it gamer like now? Well, actually, how am I?
Bruh.
I think it's if you speak louder.
Okay, I can't hear myself actually. I think we're good. Bruh! Can't hear myself there. That's good.
I don't know. I feel like it's an occasional thing. Okay, well, now I think
Destroy all flowers.
I'm doing a modded survival with like Twilight Forest, another thing. The Between Lands is the other one, and then the
Okay.
Aether 2.
Okay, cool. Well, be sure to join. I'll send the link to the survival world. Also, I don't know what I'm doing. I'll send the link to this Unreal Engine 4 remake, so you can download it.
Whoops! I looked up your name and accidentally went on that wiki.
You looked up my name and accidentally went on what wiki?
The actors.
Oh yeah, the actor, that weird actor. That's great.
The gamer.
Yeah, Jett James, the actor from an Australian soap opera.
Is it Australian?
Say like, welcome to my gamer channel.
Welcome to my gamer channel.
No, I mean like in like that Australian accent.
Hello, welcome to my gamer channel.
It's so amazing, I don't know. Like the accent is so bad, but I love it.
That's the point.
Okay. Exploring caves.
I have. Oh my god. Okay, not enough items is a bit scary. Jesus Christ. It literally has everything. You just right click on it.
What are you looking at?
I'm looking at not enough items.
Okay, yeah.
Just testing it out and poo poo.
I found diamonds in Minecraft. Tana Mongoose story time. I please stop. You're scaring me. Ouchie.
Fear has entered the chat.
Help! I died. That's what happens when you die. You die. I'm gonna switch to hard. Here we go, boys. Hard mode activate.
Poop.
I don't know what I'm doing at this point. Oh, there's literally a cave right there. What the heck? I need to explore it. I must. Wait, where was it? Was it here? I think yeah, he was here. Oh yeah, we're gonna go down slowly. We're actually gonna navigate our way down. Or not. Oh, okay. There's absolutely nothing here, so I literally just trapped myself for eternity.
What? How do you give this to yourself?
Yeah, I'll just break the first rule of Minecraft. Can I join the Discord party? No. And I remember last time you had like worse echo than Snowy is right now. Like literally, it was like I heard every single thing I said at like full volume. And I'm sorry. And yes, I am digging straight down. That's the idea. I like I don't know what I'm doing at this point, but you know, like. Oh, cool! I finally found a cave. Oh, it's an abandoned mineshaft. Yeah, I'll take some of this. Since I can. Oh, you fixed your microphone? Well, still, I just kind of want to play. I just kind of want to hang out with Snowy right now. Sorry, I don't know, just bro. It's been a while since we've talked, actually.
Yeah.
Ooh, shiz!
Well, I'm what? Scary.
What I said, chest.
The way you said it was scary.
Okay. Okay, let's see if I can jump over this lava.
Why is there an item
Won't.
called Angry Pebble?
Mm.
Love it, Angry Pebble.
Stream GD. Should I stream GD? GD.
I don't know. Do what you want, Buckaroo. Oh.
I love. Okay, I'm sorry. Like you're pretty nice, Darth Vader the third, but like seriously, he literally he's like, can I join the call? And then after I say no, he literally spams like max character limit of a chat message of crying emojis.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
I forgot. I also have the morph mod.
Oh no.
Let's turn into a squid. Gamer
Welcome.
time.
Okay, I'm done with this pointless world.
I kind of want to do my modded survival.
Okay, it's GD time.
I'm a gamer since I'm now on the Extreme Demons list.
Yeah, he beat the extreme demon. He's on the demon. Wait, you're actually already on it?
I'm on the demon list.
Oh my god, GG, dude.
I'm a gamer.
Yeah,
I'm the 54th person to beat Cyclone.
Dude, that's awesome.
It's kooky.
Make my challenge. Oh yeah, I should make your challenge. Okay, so
I'm turning into a mire snail.
what? Huh?
Mire snail time.
It is
Okay,
time for that. You should play Minecraft. You should play Minecraft Windows 10 edition. No. One, I don't have it. I only have Java and mobile Bedrock edition. So no. Okay. What should the music be?
Egg, leg, seg, leg, beg, break.
That's my favorite song.
Yeah, it's a classic.
Mm-hmm. Oh heck yeah. You don't like me? Well, I literally, like, you're just kind of annoying sometimes. Like, I never said
No,
I
chill.
I never said I didn't like you. Sometimes you're just annoying.
Is it really that easy to get to the Aether? You're joking me. Ugh.
I know it is Minecraft PE on PC. Yeah.
I guess I might start with what world or what mod should
Okay, I'm sorry. You're just like okay, whatever. It doesn't matter. Small straight fly sections. Okay, small straight fly sections. Please, you're on 6 years and iPhone 6s. Okay, so just not too many straight flies. What you're saying? Okay, I'll not do that. Yeah. You should remove my wand for a while. No, 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 no. It's not okay. I don't mean it like
not
that.
okay.
It's not okay. Actually,
We.
okay. Actually, I don't know, bro.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's a really relatable moment. I am trying to figure out where the heck this item I'm looking for is. It has to be in here, otherwise this mod would be useless. There's a candy cane block. What is that? How do you get candy canes? What?
Well, actually, I know no cancer gameplay. Okay, I'll try. I'm bad at making not cancer gameplay.
Oh, I don't really care.
Okay, well, actually, I know. Well, candy cane blocks are in Terraria, but I do not remember how you get them.
I do not.
I do not remember how you shit them.
What? Where is it? Swamp talisman. Okay, so you need cave moss or moss. Where do you get? What? Okay? You need life crystals.
Okay, ignore damage is off. That just looks really tight. Wow, that's like crazy.
Tell me that this is like possible to get to.
You should make a press start boss when you get close to the end. Well, it's only gonna be a simple challenge, but maybe. But I can't really make art like that normally. Sorry. I'm just bad at stuff like that. Okay, then we'll have actually a challenge. That was amazing. That was powerful.
I don't know why I did that.
Name it X-Laugh challenge. Sadly, I can't comment on the level because this game is broken and I can't make an account. Oh my god. I don't even know. I'm just bored.
Ore spawn? Wait. They made an ore spawn for 1.12. Oh hey, oh hey.
What's Source Spawn do again?
Very spaghetti.
Just a bunch of different stuff.
Yes. Has a lot of bosses, a lot of mobs.
Okay, so everything other than ores.
No, it has ores.
I know, but you know.
Have you ever wanted to just be the ultimate gamer of gamingness?
Not really, actually.
Every
I'm
time
sorry.
I look at my profile picture, I just want to laugh.
Okay, now that I think about it, it is pretty dang good.
I hate that I made that.
Have you seen my Creeper All Man Discord meme?
Creeper.
No, have you seen it though? Have you seen mine?
No, I have not.
Oh my god, it's amazing. It's probably my best. It's probably one of my best videos. Honestly, I'm not even joking. Okay, did you tell them to sub toy channel?
Let's just hope my PC is able to actually handle all these mods together.
I don't know what you're talking about with toy channel.
Oh, I think it is. Okay. Delete. Survival.
Mm. Oh, to my channel? Oh. Oh, you mean like, oh. Wait, tell who? I'm kind of retarded. Who? Tell who to sub to your channel. You mean like my Discord? I don't even know. I wasn't. I'm dumb. Okay. Okay, come on. I hate when this happens. Oh, Jesus, that is so difficult.
I'm starting to think these other mods can't be active with this other mod.
Nice.
Huh.
Okay, 65 on Theory of Everything 2, by the way, and 43 to 100 and 2 to 3 attempts. That's pretty good. Again, you're just improving by the day, honestly. Also, is this too hard or something? Because if you're trying to beat Toad 2, I'm not sure I'll, you know, like you're doing good on it, but like, is this a bit too much? Okay, hopefully this isn't too cancerous for you.
Spawn.
Yeah, is this too hard? Just please tell me if it gets too ridiculous, because it may or may not be. Especially for a phone. You know, it's gonna be really quick. It's gonna be a quick challenge. Please nerf the 4 times? Okay, got it.
I'm triggered. This is not the mod I thought it was.
Oh, what is it then?
Some random other crap one.
Huh.
Oops, I accidentally.
Okay, there. I like the challenge, though. Thank you. Okay, is that spam a bit too much? Wait, is there like a hole there? Oh, there is. How did that happen? That's annoying. Tighter and longer spam, please? Okay. Jeez. Okay, so wait, crocodile alligator, but I couldn't see. I did came I was like it take good gog. I couldn't. Whew. That's pretty crazy. Jesus! Is this too hard? Did I make it too type of spam? Jesus. Okay, I can't even do that. I'm nerfing that. I'm sorry. Well, I actually kind of like that. That's a cool idea. So that means that we'll have to, like, have, like, this. Oh, oopsie. You full spam as well, make it lawn? Okay. Here, actually, here. Okay, here we go. I need to set start position, I suck. Hold up. Wait. Okay, like this. That's actually kinda cool. This challenge will get 69 million likes. Oh, sure. Because of course it will. Okay, anyway.
Hey, lol, XD, that's hilarious. How do I get a .zip to be like to get to work?
What? Like, I know what you mean, but like, what? Like, what are you trying to make it? How? Like, what do you mean
But
by
I'm just
make
trying
it
to
work?
make it so like I can put it into my mods folder and
Oh my
actually.
god. So, right click on the zip.
Like, okay, let me get back to it.
And you'll see extract all.
Wait. I see extract files. Extract here.
Really? Okay, then I guess like
Oh wait, let me.
it might be just extract files.
Okay.
And then it'll probably like show what folder you want to extract it to. Just if you just
Mhm.
select one, you'll know where it is, and then hopefully it will just be a folder with all the files in it.
Okay.
And then you just drag that in, as if you would where you try not to zip. Okay. Oh Jesus, that is so
Wait, and then what do
insane.
you do?
And then you just will it be? Is it a folder?
It's a couple folders.
Wait, what?
Like
Okay.
assets, danger, meta, info.
Oh, you have to put it. You have to actually put all those into a folder in itself. You have to put all those folders and all that stuff that came from that zip file into a folder.
Okay. Should I create a folder?
Yeah, just create a new folder.
New folder. I'll just call it or spawn. And then I'll just plop all the stuff in there. And then I guess do I put that in there?
Yeah, then you put that in the mod folder. Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna.
Yeah. See if it works. If yeah.
What if I have like mods from 1.12 in there as well? Do I have to take those out?
Well, what version of Minecraft are you running on?
It'll be on 1.7.
Okay, then just in case, take them out and like put them in another folder, like somewhere else. Wait, that's not synced. Okay, there you go. So now we're good, and we can bruh. Harder, too easy. Okay. So I guess we'll
Yeah,
here it
really,
is.
this
What we'll
one's like
do.
echo coming, but
Yeah, I don't know. I can hear it. Yeah.
like my friend apparently getting echo. I don't think is it
Oh,
that bad
Jesus.
though?
It's not that bad. Like, it's bearable.
I don't think it's that loud though.
Tasty. Okay. Let's try this. Oh, Jesus. That's gonna be insane. That's gonna be the last part, though. That's gonna be it. Okay. Hopefully that's enough for you. Is that good? Every nozzle needs a triple spike, you're right.
It says the game just crashes like instantly.
Wait. Are you sure you're... Wait, did you select 1.7 forge when you hit play?
Huh?
Did you select 1.7 forge when you hit play?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Alright, just make sure all the other mod folders are out.
Mods folder. This one was just nothing. Never mind. It is something.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, if you're just gonna do ore spawn, then obviously, you know, everything, it should be out except for ore
It
spawn.
still crashes.
Really?
Yeah.
So go into that folder you create. Here, share your screen, share your screen.
Come on, folder. Boop. Mods folder. It's just ore spawn with all of its stuff.
Okay, I don't know, like, maybe, I'm trying to think what, so are you sure, like, maybe you shouldn't put it in a folder, maybe you actually have all those folders, like, I don't know. Like, just check that, like, put all those folders into the mod folder rather than that, I'm not sure, because...
Okay, well, how do I do that?
literally just... don't delete it, just, like, go into the ore spawn folder.
Uh-huh.
And then select all of them. And then drag it, like, into the mod folder at the top there.
I'll just paste it and then go
Okay, yeah, good idea, good idea.
wait for them to actually show up.
Okay,
Bing bong.
cool. Okay, let's see if this
Now
works.
try.
I don't know.
It probably won't.
Yeah, I doubt it.
It's doing something. It's not instantly crashing like it
Well, that's a good
was.
sign. That's a good sign, at least.
That's a good sign. I feel like nothing's gonna happen. I feel like it won't even be on. Okay.
Yeah, dang it. Wait. What does it say? Game crash. There are several problems. Okay, error.
Bing
It
bong.
just... maybe it's actually something about ore spawn itself. I think I don't know. Wait, okay, I have no clue. Maybe try and like find it. Then maybe like try and reinstall or spawn if you can. Like, you know, like re-download it, if you know what I mean. And then see how it looks. Order Ufisa.
Echo cancel.
Yeah, it says.
I'm trying
Okay.
to figure out how to get an ore spawn, but it's like not working. Because it's a .zip, so I don't know how to do the mod thing. Like to get the mod, the .zip, and I don't know how to put that into like the mod folder and stuff.
Also, you're set. Jet. You're
it.
also set 79 user coins
it's
away
all
from the
normal.
180 coin chip. Okay, got it.
Yeah. Doesn't matter.
That spam is honestly a bit ridiculous. I need to fix this.
Senpai, where's... Is Echo still there, Jett?
Oh, I don't think. Yeah, it is. It is.
It's still there.
Oh, hi, TX1X. Welcome again. And Ty, cool guy. Yes. Still is the best name here, honestly. No! That was actually. No, I was just doing a good run on the level. Come on. I can do this. Notice me? I literally said hi, TX1X.
Sound.
Okay, we're good. Yes, that is only face.
Wait, say something, Jett.
Bruh. Bruh. I don't hear echo anymore. I don't think, at least. No. Remove the upside down wave portal. Why? I like it. Too bad. Bowser's Big Bean Burrito. Well, actually, up arrow key works a lot better, honestly. Spacebar time. Okay, that's not comfortable. Spacebar is the opposite of a good way to play GD, at least on a PC mechanical keyboard.
I feel like we'd be under level.
Wait, what did you say? Oh, okay.
Hello.
Hi, what? It's just my GD music is really loud, it's hard to hear you, that's all. My GD music is really loud, even on like super low volume, that's all. It's kinda hard to hear you. The upside down wave transition sucks. No. I might fix it if it just gets extremely annoying later on. But honestly... Okay, you're right, I should fix it. Well, I don't know, but no. Because it doesn't work, it actually still wouldn't work because the, how the UFO gravity works with the jump that you do. It's made it perfectly clear that. So I don't think... I think if I changed the gravity, it would be broken. Hi Artisol, how you doing? Welcome to stream again. Dude, this... Huh. I think it's just because I'm kind of tired. I don't know how, because it's literally, yeah, it's 9:37. I shouldn't be tired, but I kinda am-ish. But I will not go to bed until it releases. Yeah, I agree. Bruh. Make it so you can slide on some blocks, I guess.
I still don't know why this is an issue with GD. Can't screen share anymore.
Huh, yeah. Yeah.
I feel like there's gotta be a way.
Well, I don't think that would really help, honestly, because it's mostly, yeah, I don't think so.
Oh yeah, my black lizard.
Creeper, oh man. So we back, okay. I'm not gonna,
Back in the mine.
yes indeed. So we back, fuck, oh okay, you're reenacting our Discord one, okay. I think. Ish, not really. We back in the, so we back fuck the mine.
Oh yeah, black lizard theme level I'm screen sharing right now. It's so good.
Oh, you are? Oh, that's remarkable. At the beginning, just at the beginning of the transition so you don't die immediately. Yeah, good idea, good idea. There, fixed.
Time to stream Cyclone. Really.
Okay, yeah, exactly.
I love playing it so much. I wanted to read it.
Huh. That's funny.
Let me restart GD without the I like lasagna with extra sauce.
I like that too.
Have to make sure
Yeah.
Cookie,
No.
Cookie.
Mmm, cookie. Come on. Oh, God.
You should just show your stream my extreme gamerness.
Your what?
My extreme gamerness.
Oh my God, that is some extreme gamerness. Come on.
Wow, literally second attempt and I do 66 to 100. I'm a gamer.
Yeah.
I'm truly a... I also did 32 to 100 in like 5.
Okay.
Oh, like, what do I do?
Level requests?
Good point. But no one would show up.
Really?
My channel is deader than a frog that's dead.
Dude, like most of my actual streams, nobody shows up. Level requests, so many people show up.
Yeah, even with mine, like, I never get...
Huh.
Kooky.
Okay.
I'll go
You can nerf it if you want. No, I'm gonna verify this. Unless I go insane from this, I'm not gonna nerf it. That's so tight though, that transition. You gotta spam like immediately.
I cookie!
Yeah, I do too. Yeah. Hey!
Cookie. I need his thumbnail. I'm just gonna
Have you heard about...
ones that I have.
Okay, I'm not gonna... That's a bit, dark? I don't really know.
Should my title to be Geometry Dash Level Request?
Wait, what is it?
Just Geometry Dash Level Request.
Yeah. Someone said Minecraft? Well, no, we're waiting for the Jett James Edition to launch. Because this dude is developing a Jett James Edition of Minecraft, and it's going to launch, like, midnight tonight, so in, like, a few hours. And so we're just gonna mess around for a little bit. And yeah, hi, welcome to the stream. I remember you, I remember seeing you ages ago that like a comment. What was that from? Where did you find me exactly? I don't remember. I don't remember exactly what video. But you get mod. Please shut up.
Get mod just like that.
Yeah, well no, because I don't know. Well honestly, yeah, that is true. Actually I do give mod away just like that. Yeah, he's working on multiplayer right now. He'll use 2 computers of his own on different internets to test it. No. I'm gonna turn up my Discord because it's like super quiet. Okay, hopefully that fixes it. Oh, you're live?
I'm Libby, yes.
Okay, cool. I'm developing Badcraft. That sounds nice. I'm developing Fwicknif to boot. I beat your basegasm full layout, really fun. Thanks. My question is, what separates the Jett James Edition from vanilla? Okay, here. Let me try and show you this.
That's what does. Ooh.
Okay.
Audio is audio off? Okay. Oh yeah, audio's coming.
Good job. So first of all, here's the title screen. This is the title screen. It says Minecraft Unreal Engine 4 edition, but that's crossed out and it says Jett James Edition.
Wait, Jett, stop speaking for a second.
Okay, sorry.
No, I'm just... Okay, I'm good.
Okay. And here, let's actually... I was going to save this for later, but here.
Jump step way out. Oh, no! No! Oh.
Okay, so yeah, pretty much that's what it is. Unreal Engine. Yeah, it was made into Unreal Engine, too. That's a big difference. And also it's just kind of Jett James related because it's a Jett James block. That's it.
Wait,
and then there's a lot less blocks and it's only creative.
You should be able to hear me now.
Yeah, then it's obviously there's a lot less blocks and it's only creative. Okay, who's saying things? Amazing. Here, I actually have a better idea. Honestly, I have a lot better music that I could play right now than this. Hold up. I see. I want it now? Well, it will come out pretty soon. Like, as in like a few hours, it will launch, and then I'll start a new stream, hopefully.
Hours,
yeah, but seriously. It'll be launched in a few hours, hopefully. And it will, and I will have a download in the description at that point, and you'll be able to download it and all that stuff. Okay. And then you can join, hopefully. I don't know how the online will work exactly, but here's some...
it's childish, get me no hunger, drop it like a nasty. Smooth white girls like this coat up my ass. Smooth black girls, cause man, fuck it out to eat. Okay, it's childish, get me no hunger, drop it like a nasty. Smooth white girls like this coat up my ass crack. Smooth black girls, cause man, fuck it out to eat. Okay, it's childish, get me no hunger, drop it like a nasty. Smooth white girls like this coat up my ass crack. Smooth black girls, cause man, fuck it out to eat. Okay, it's childish, get me no hunger, drop it like a nasty. Smooth white girls like this coat up my ass crack. Smooth black girls, cause man, fuck it out to eat. Okay, it's childish, get me no hunger, drop it like a nasty. Smooth white girls like this coat up my ass crack. Smooth black girls, cause man, fuck it out to eat. Okay, it's childish, get me no hunger, drop it like a nasty. Move white girls like this coat up my ass crack. Move black girls, cause man, fuck it out to eat. Okay, it's childish, get me no hunger, drop it like a nasty. Move white girls like this coat up my ass crack. Move black girls, cause man, fuck it out to eat.
Okay, I have to stop that madness. What am I getting Discord pings from? Oh my god.
Gamer.
Shit, stop.
Oogie boogie. Bro, this gameplay be mackin' bad. Bro. Can I be good? Why is my mic so low? God damn it, because I lowered my mic volume. Recording levels. Boop, back up. Okay, should be good now. Should be, please. Why is it? Oh god. Is it better? Wait, is my mic better now? Should be.
Well, that explains why I couldn't hear you at all, because your actual mic volume was low.
That's when the echo starts to happen now.
Whatever.
Oh wait, restart GD if I want to play Cycle. Should take me literally 2 seconds, so we should be Spaghetti Man.
Communism, okay.
Spaghetti Man.
Hmm.
Ow.
Coming soon. Oh! Oh, here he is, Jaydanson himself. The dude behind it all. He says it's coming soon.
I'm a gamer.
I'm working hard. Good to know. Keep doing so. We're ready, guys. Yeah, who's excited for Minecraft Jett James Edition?
Not me.
Oh, cool. Great.
I'm kidding. It'll be great.
Yeah, okay. Good. Because there's actually a Jett James block.
Huh.
I can send you a video of it.
Nah.
Okay.
I don't. I want it to be a complete surprise.
Okay. I need a cool GD profile picture, but I don't know how to make one. I did not make mine myself. I asked this one dude. I think they may have deleted their account. I'm not sure who they are.
Big oop.
So, sorry. I can't help in that front.
Okay, after this attempt, here we go. Bro, I feel like every time you join, that's the first thing you say. Just demigod.
Okay.
Hell wave 4 times speed. Okay. Ow. Well, I did it second attempt. Easy gamer moment.
Okay, I'm actually going insane from this challenge, honestly. It's not even good. I don't like it. I hate myself. I hate my challenges, they're not fun.
It's always the second attempt.
No!
Go.
No, okay, that spam is gonna be like literally impossible. Forgive me if I spew random nonsense every now and then because I'm just loving flight
Why did I
rising
think that was
for.
upside down?
Okay,
That's not upside
I need to lower your user volume. We're like loud as all fuck. Okay, forgive me if I spew random nonsense every now and then because I am just loving flight rising for having dragons. I don't know what you're talking about, but okay. I'm gonna go after the stream. I would like to get into a voice chat, and
Gamers. Only true
we're pretty good
gamers
since.
are
Also, you was kidding about the marriage thing. Yeah, I assume so. Obviously, I use 2 fingers for UFO spam since I'm mobile. Yeah.
interesting.
Okay.
Oh god. For the sake of this live stream, play my recent level. I've quit GD. Oh wait, dude. What's your name again? I feel like I feel like it's probably just GD. Twitch. Angry. No, that's angry bird. I'm an idiot.
This is soul crushing, my guy. What, playing this over and over again? Honestly,
I don't
yeah.
know what your name is, dude. Can you tell me? Cinnamon toaster. I want cinnamon toast. Amplify. I don't even think I have you added. Oop. I don't. Oops. Magnitude 9.
I wish Unlock All Hack was available for mobile. Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. But obviously, it'd be a bit hard to get on there.
Huh.
Especially if you're on iOS.
Oh.
Come on, I can't do this.
Oh. Practice mode. I need to change my practice music. I hate this song. I don't even know why it's my practice. I'll do it after stream. I already know I'm getting copyrighted strike because of this song. Ah. What? Where do I go? What?
I bust you have to rob with the power of Rob Top verify.
Dude, I don't think.
I don't think Rob Top is gonna help me in this situation. He is like, no.
Could you not verify this legit? I sense some hackery here. That timing doesn't seem possible. It's a no copyright. Yeah, I know, but well, I guess I banned in GD. Maybe not. I'm good. Oops. Did I put an A in that? Mechanical showdown. Bum 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 bum. Ding.
This is getting really annoying. I don't know. I made a really bad challenge.
Oh, I forgot what I had to do there. My practice mode is you reposting the wrong Dimmadome. That is epic, dude. Can I have that? I want that as mine. day when I thought this was like so difficult.
No!
What are you doing?
Just nerf the UFO spam, for fuck's sake, no. I'm not going to. It's not about the UFO spam, it's about the wave spam. It's about the wave spam immediately after.
Later.
It's about the wave spam immediately after. It's just so bad.
Am I gonna be able to get back? Huh. I think I just accidentally, like... How do I go back? I can't... Okay, well I gotta... Oops. Gotta get my chat back though. That's a big oopsie.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with that. That hits what did I just open? I think I just opened my editor. I should play the game again. The game is great. But nothing compares to Minecraft. If you're gonna choose Minecraft or GD, play Minecraft.
Yeah.
Bum, 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 bum,
Just nerf both? I'm not going to nerf both. I'm not going to nerf either.
Wait, what are you doing?
Verifying this challenge that I'm making for somebody on stream. He wants me to nerf, but I'm refusing to. No! That was perfect spam!
I forget how to do that, you.
Oh my god, I hate that.
When do I think you'll be Cyclone? Maybe this weekend. If you keep at it, you can probably do it this weekend.
Yeah, I have in the chat, honestly. That was sad.
Or tomorrow, depending on how much you play it.
Why did I Sam with that your key there?
What?
Okay.
Oh, okay, well, I figured out the timing.
Imagine dying at the last object in the level. It's probably gonna happen. I'm probably gonna die at the last triple.
For a moment.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a triple?
Yeah, I'm gonna die at the last triple, definitely.
Okay, you don't hold that fully.
No! Ah! This is so irritating.
Okay, that was it.
Last triple is technically the first triple too. Yeah, honestly it is. You're right. It's the first and last triple of this level. I just need to get into a better seating position.
What's up, gamers? It's your boy. I'm going with the spooky Halloween colors.
Okay.
AKA orange and black.
Yeah, I assume so.
Have you ever just wanted to eat a lemon with your eyes?
Not really.
Cause I am hankering for one of those. Like an eye lemon right now. I don't know why.
Harder than when tech verified Ouroboros, to be honest. I try to go to immediately controlled spam, which I don't think I should do. Aurora is like 11 on the list too.
Is it already on there?
I don't know.
Stop rating Extreme Demons game, please. I don't want Cyclone to go up to 150. The longer I have it, the better I feel.
Well, but it'll still be in the Legacy Demons, and it'll still be there, right?
Yeah. I just won't probably have points for it anymore.
Yeah.
Why did I jump there?
What the? Oh, cool glitch. What the heck?
That challenge really does not seem fun.
What, the one I'm verifying?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the opposite of fun. When do
Enough.
I spam go? Nowhere. I'd rather not spam go because it's just such a quick it's just such a quick challenge. It would be pointless to spam go because the end would just go by so fast. Like, it would just be one go and I'm dead. God, I hope there's no 60 Hz bugs.
Is that possible?
What?
That 60 Hz bugs?
I think so. I wouldn't be surprised.
Wow.
Yeah.
For a moment when I just died at 86.
Cool.
Full black eye.
No! Did you see that? Oh.
Well, no, I didn't, but I can feel the pain.
Yeah. Nerf it, please. You obviously can't beat it. I can! I can beat this. Shut up.
If he doesn't, just because he doesn't beat it in like 5 seconds doesn't mean he needs to nerf it.
No, it's attempt like 2. It's attempt like 300.
Well, yeah, but it's a challenge. Probably that's natural.
Yeah, you're right.
My Rito Jacob level took me thousands of attempts to verify. Wait, who are you talking about, Angry Bird? Why does his icon look so cool? But it's like all black.
If you can't beat him, join him. Yep. You have a point there.
Thanks, you said I had a manly stream. I'm not using white icons. I like the black icons, especially with the black wave trail. I don't know why I love that.
No!
I'm itchy.
Nerf it! I will not nerf this, no matter how much you tell me.
So itchy. Cool. I gotta go showdown again. Okay.
Yeah, that's the opposite of joining them. But okay.
Oops. Prepare yourself to do. Oof.
I try to do that.
Bruh, did I really just die at the Hell Wave? That's when you know I'm cool with the game. Do the first Demon Gauntlet level in 1 to 5 of 10. So you're telling me to beat that in like 5 of 10?
Oh my god, wait. That's actually pretty funny.
Dude, I don't even know if I can do that. I always die at the duel.
Beat it in 5 attempts. Beat it in less than 5 attempts. Or, like, 5 attempts or less, and I will be so happy.
Jesus Christ, I almost had a dumb death. Jacob, are you watching my stream right now? I think he's watching.
I can't do this. But actually I can. I don't know why I said I can't, because I definitely can.
Huh. Nice. Jacob, you're definitely watching my stream. Oh, never mind, he's not. Okay.
Yeah, he really does. He really wants in that nerf.
We see something good.
I just want to play my challenge. Okay. Well, you're gonna have to wait.
Okay, whatever. Attempt 2. Got 52 on my first. What? I clicked off the screen. That does not count as a death. Oh. Okay, cool. What would you say? Like, what would you do if I beat it in 5 attempts or less?
I'll be happy.
Why would you be happy?
I don't know. That's it. There isn't really much of a consequence. Someone is new on Discord. I don't know who it is. He's TX Punk X's friend. He already told me.
Bruh, that's annoying. I don't even remember how to do the duel. I'm gonna die there a lot.
Let the man do this. Yeah, exactly. Just let me, the man, do this.
The man.
I am the man.
Are you the CEO of racism?
Okay.
If I die to a bug like that, I'm literally counting. Like that doesn't even count, okay? I don't even know what just happened. My ball went flying into the ceiling. You fail your ooga booga, I don't know what it is. That can mean a million different things. What time is it? This is attempt 3 because that other one with the ball bug does not count.
That is like literally nearly impossible to get that transition down. It's
What? Pretty sure this level is bugged on 144. It's a little bit, or the duel is harder. Your Discord Nitro literally is ending in 40 minutes. That's a big oof, dude. I've never had Nitro, so.
oh, someone else. Oh yeah, there's someone else there. I don't know. Maybe I'll say hi later. Maybe after I beat this, who knows? Nerf it or give up? No.
Don't do either.
Yeah, neither.
Oh wait, I did the duel. I'm a gamer.
Okay, I'll check.
I beat it.
Wait, was that in 5? Was that tip 5?
It was attempt 5.
Oh my god. Here's the idea.
I'm a gamer. Only real gamers know. I don't even remember playing this level. Yeah, Jett has to beat it now.
What, sidestep? No.
Yeah.
Not really. I never promised that. I never promised that.
I know, it's a joke.
It is one gay fag, sure. Error, try again. What? Okay. No, it worked. Let the man do this. Thank you. You're being so nice. Like, seriously, you're like being so helpful towards the stream and him being that. Thank you for encouraging me.
Big goof.
Little misimperfections.
Hey, what's up, Zatis? Or Zatsi? I don't know how to say that. If you want to tell me how, I guess. Let's see what icons I want to use.
Get good at this? I actually am getting a lot better at this.
You don't know use top all icons, why not?
I'm getting a lot more consistent, I think.
I don't know what to do. We'll play it again.
Oh! I keep glitching to the spikes, it's so weird.
My friend is calling me on Discord. I'm going to go join him.
Is the new mic? Oh, okay. Well, okay. There he goes. Wait, the new Minecraft is not for mobile, sorry. It is only for PC, I think. Yeah, I believe it's only for PC, sorry. Like, I'm sorry to say. Only for PC. What? I don't know, I was talking about that it's only for PC. So sorry. Oh my god, it's so close. Because it's so weird, you gotta go from like a full spam, from a full spam to a controlled spam, almost instantly. It's so awkward. I've almost opened all the big boy chests in the treasure room. That's pretty good. Why always PC my lifestyle? I'm sorry. I'm sorry to say. It's just PC only. It's going to be, at least. I believe so. I might be able to ask him to make a mobile port in the future, but I don't think so. Hang on. Add touchscreen. I'm not the person who's developing it. It is Jaydanson. I asked him on Discord, so hopefully he'll be able to. Sometime in the future. Definitely not today, but it might be possible. Because he hasn't even finished with the PC port yet. Just move that wave portal so it's less cancerous. You're right. Honestly. I'm sorry. I think I'll have to finally nerf it. I've reached my boiling point. So how about it's instead, this will make it so much easier. There you go. Done. Oh my god. What have I done? I think I killed Discord. Help. What have I done? Okay, that was kind of weird. What have I done to Discord? Guys. Yeah, I broke. What the heck happened? Okay, please. Okay, guys, sorry, I'm just trying to get Discord started back up. It's, being poopy. Okay, there, we're good. I have no clue what that button is. Now beat it in one attempt. I'm calling it's gonna be in one attempt, isn't it? Oh my god, guys, he said he just sent in Discord it's close to done. Playing my levels. Sorry, this isn't a level request stream. I'm sorry. And either way, the Minecraft one is close to done. Yeah, sorry. I'm not in the mood for a level request, and plus, again, the Minecraft Jett James Edition is almost done. So I'm gonna have to stop the stream in a second. I'ma be bored? Okay. Sorry. Frick is a bad word. Frick is a bad word. Immediate says fuck. It's not really, though. Don't ban him, please. You've gotta be joking. I'm literally sucking at the level now. Oh, that's so much better, but still cancer. I love how immediately after I nerf it, now I'm starting to suck at level more. It's like a curse, I just can't beat this fucking level. She nerfed it. Not a she, but okay. Called it. Yeah, you did call it. Actually, you're correct. Dang it. I did not intend that. That was not intentional. But I'm a he, by the way. Sorry. A lot of people get it wrong with the long hair. I understand. I am God. Okay, good to know. Nice to meet you, God. I'm Dad. I'm not, though. Please don't call me Daddy. Please don't. Ever. I know you're a boy? Oh, okay. So you're just kind of being... You're just kind of... Oh, yeah, you are loser, Ash. I'm retarded. Here's mod. I forgot. I'm so bad with, like, alt accounts, so here you go. This alt account gets mod now. Here, since I'm not in a call with Snowy, I'm gonna call you, if that's fine. Where are your DMs? What the heck? Did you change your name? I know your name is Pooh on my Discord. Or is your name P? No. Oh, I'm on the wrong server. I'm retarded. I have like 7 accounts. Okay. Oh, you did change your name. Hey. Hello?
My headphones were disconnected.
Oh, okay. Well, hi.
I'm not gonna talk.
Oh, okay.
Oh my god.
Oh! I did it!
So delayed. This is so delayed.
Yeah, I know. I did it.
GG. GG, boys. That is not demon.
I don't know why I hit
That is
demon.
easy.
I don't know why I hit
No,
demon.
that's auto.
Yeah, auto. I'm radiant auto. I know, GG.
Alright, bye.
Oh,
I'll call you
okay.
later.
Oh, okay,
When
got
my
it.
brother leaves.
Got it. Got it. Okay, but yeah, GG, finally. Now I got this nice music. From Mario Maker 2. Extinction copyable. I was gonna beat this, but I kind of decided against it. I already beat it, so I don't know why I would re-beat it. There's really no point. It's kind of a fun level. Here it is, boys. Play it, I guess. There's the ID. Let me send it. You're gonna go play it? Okay, cool. Thir 32 and 310. This is so sad. Okay, now I'll play your levels. I always forget your name. Wait. Anyone have suggestions for the Minecraft Jett James Edition? Yeah, put your suggestions now. Yeah, so this will probably be the last thing we do. Man in club step. Okay, let's try this. I like it so far. Okay, I'm confused. Mobile edition? Yeah, that's one thing. Kinda cool. That first timing is a bit awkward though. 35% of 15 attempts? Okay. Ooh, promo with 2! Oh. Yeah, okay. I don't know what I was expecting. I was expecting a sequel to, By the way, this is actually a super old layout of mine called Speed of Sound. And it's literally just the entirety of the song at Speed of Light. With, a few parts taken from, like, random parts. Okay. Oh god, I remember this. Well, yeah, mobile will come later. Sorry. As I have to redo a ton of code, yeah. Oh, amazing. I think I already played this. Cat's layout, kinda. It's only kinda. Yeah, I can tell. It's only kinda. Yeah, these are just older versions. And the problem with mobiles, I'm not sure about cross-platform. Ah, okay. Okay, as long as mobile edition. Don't worry, it will eventually be there. He'll eventually make mobile. But I don't know. That's the best one yet. That is the best one yet. Sporting the grid top. Not a green top, but grid top. I just came up with that term. It's called a grid top. A grid top. That's amazing. Eventually. Yeah, exactly. Eventually. Eventually mobile edition. Anyway, this is trash. Divex's nostalgia, the level, is pretty much what I've dubbed this. Like, I occasionally just make versions just so, like, Divex and just, like, do that, you know, have nostalgia. Yes, SA2 indeed. That's exactly where it's from. Okay, that was dumb. I beat Clubstep before Cycles, and I've only been playing this game for 6 months, and you have 2,000 plus stars? Dude! G! 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 Good game. Yeah, I have a mixed opinion on SA2. Like, City Escape is amazing. But, I don't know. I tried. I've played this since 2013. Wow. Oh, yeah, you have been playing GD for a while, right? Yeah, that's crazy. I'm one of the weird Gen Z people that, they grew up with the Wii U. Like, literally, like, I get nostalgia from the original Mario Maker. That's the nostalgia I feed off of. It's weird. Dang it. Jet, to your best levels with Lin on turn on LDM. Can you please rephrase that? I'm assuming you mean play my best levels with LDM. In this case, yeah, most of them are just empty. They're literally just empty, so I can verify them easily. That's all. Not that crazy. A lot of my older ones are verified legit, like this. He. I don't know what you're correcting. What? Oh, good. I don't know what to do now. You know what? I have a good idea. It's time for Sonic Adventure 2. I got it. I bought it. And yeah, I don't know. We're gonna play it. Okay, so no full screen. Hold up. I guess like this. Player. Okay, so let's figure this out. So, start is enter. Jump is space. Action is shift. Switch action window is control. And action is F. Okay, sure. So you need WASD. Okay, that's pretty easy. Okay, save settings and launch SA2. Okay, here we go, boys. We're gonna be playing this. Like, seriously, I don't know why.
File select.
File select. Warning! Okay. I said that some.
Story select.
Shut up. Wait, it's Cityscape? I love SCT. What the? What's happening? Whoa! I think I broke it. I think I broke it. Oops. I have no clue what. Okay, first of all, how do I? Yeah, I don't think I can turn down the volume, but I broke it. I broke it. I'm not supposed to be this fast. What happened?
Story select.
Kill your controller? Yeah, okay, what happens? I'm gonna explain how multiplayer? Okay, got it. Good to know. I'll see it. Okay, I don't know what's happening. Oh! It's running too fast. How do I fix this? Dude, it's literally like, how do I fix this? Yeah, I don't think I can. Uh-oh. Well, that's unfortunate. It's like... Huh. Okay, let's try 59 hertz, see if that helps. Yeah, it's still running way too fast. Wait. Yeah, it's still running way too fast.
Story select.
Yeah, it's... It's just running! It like... It's amazing! It's literally like 3 times faster.
What do you think you're doing?
What do you... What's... This is weird. Like this. Oh. Okay. It's so broken! It's not capping at 60 FPS, so it's running like 3 times faster than it should. This is amazing. What's happening? Yeah, now this is Sonic. What have I done? Ouch! Oh, this is painful playing like this. What is happening? Oh, cool. Cool. Now this is speed. Come on. Okay, whatever. Ouch! Ah! Oh, you click the host server button? Okay, got it. You beat SA2? I don't think you can beat SA2 like this. Honestly. Like, this is just painful to play like this. Like, in, like, hyper speed. Wait, I need reins, please. Oh! I'm making a clip of that. I'm so sorry, that was amazing. Okay, I'm back. Yeah, so, excuse me for the wait, that was just an amazing clip. This game is amazing! You cannot time this like that. Oops. Okay, let's try and time this. You can't, really. It's just... I hate this. What? I didn't know you could do that! That's crazy. You can, like, break that section. I can hit this. I can jump to it. Come on! Okay, I give up. It's amazing. This is the best camera angle. There you go. What the? That. What? Okay.
Story select.
He gone? Yeah, I think so, but he'll be back. No, he's not. Never mind. Oh, hey.
Alright, he gone.
File select.
And I'm trying to fix my controller.
Okay.
All
Got
I
it.
can hear- All I can hear is just pure typing.
Stage select.
Okay, oh, I think he left. Yes, hello, some kid on YouTube. How you doing? I don't know what to play. Okay, I'll check the GDPS. Playing Roblox meme games? Oh, play Roblox. Maybe? But probably not. Okay, it appears it's been completely inactive. Great. Like I expected. Brig. Yeah, I do have Roblox, but I do not dare touch it normally. Yeah, I'm actually not gonna touch it still, sorry. I'm not in the mood for Roblox. Sorry. I don't know. But, yeah, I don't know. We're still waiting for that. Yeah, how's the game going? How close are you? Like how Fortnite dumb games. I'm not playing Fortnite, please no. Oh, actually, well we do have this. Let's see what this link is. Let's see what this Roblox game is. Oh fuck. It's themed hams. Okay, guys. Okay, hi.
My brother came back, so I left.
Okay. I also love how.
Did you fix SA2 yet?
Did I what?
Did you fix Sonic Adventure 2?
Did I fix it? What?
Sonic was going too fast. Did you fix it?
Your mic is like super weird. I can't tell what you're saying. I'm kind of retarded though.
My mic is weird.
Yeah, your mic is kind of weird. I don't know. It's kind of like a bit. It's just kind of a bit like weird. What the fuck is that? All these cringy studios I joined like ages ago. It's so bad. Here, let's play my let's play my own game because I'm
Go to
good.
one of your other Discord calls, like when you're server.
Okay, got
Maybe
it.
that'll fix it.
Cool. So let's see if I can do a window capture of Google Chrome. Okay, it doesn't seem like it. This is really sad. Okay,
Hey, have you
hi.
ever tried to prank someone by, like, you know how I pranked you?
But what'd you do? I forgot.
I said, I called you a girl, and you're like, I'm a
Oh,
boy.
because I forgot you were Loser Ash. I forgot you were Loser Ash.
So, don't tell anyone this, but eye patch is me. Do
Okay.
not tell anyone. Just play along like no one knows who he is.
Who is you? Eye patch? What?
Eye patch is me. Don't tell anyone. Just play along that you don't
Okay,
know
but
who
you
he
realize
is.
people can hear you on stream. Yeah,
Never mind. Eye patch is a whole different person. Maybe my sister. I mean, she's crazy. Yeety boy. Who names themselves Yeety boy is like my question.
Okay, well, sadly, I can't stream my Scratch projects. It's just kind of weird with how streaming works. I don't know. How, like the window
My
capture
brother,
works.
I don't like my brother.
Okay.
No, I mean, my brother, he threw my chows at the wall just so they could hatch.
Wow. F.
Alright, Peaches, come here. Peaches? Where are you, Peaches? Peaches, I can find
Yeah,
you.
hype 100. Hype is 100, honestly.
Why? What? You're not Peaches. Where are my new two chows? They died? My chows died! No!
I'm sorry.
We need to have a funeral.
Yeah. A moment of silence. Wait, I need to... A moment of
This
silence for...
is the music they play at the funeral of every child that dies.
Is it just the Chow Garden theme? Because I can play it on my,
Chow Garden?
Is it just the Chow Garden theme?
Yeah, the Chow Garden theme.
Okay, I'll play it on stream.
Wow. They were waiting for Wait, maybe they're at kindergarten. Maybe my goop.
Okay, there's a moment of silence. Did you find them or something?
No.
Okay, yeah, they're dead. Okay. Well, we had our moment of silence on the stream. Well, technically not silence because I played the Chow Garden theme.
Well, that's the song they love. And that they cry to. What did the chat think of that moment of silence?
I don't know.
Um,
I don't think they said
Peaches,
much.
Peaches and
I don't know.
Peaches and
Jaydanson.
Melody.
Okay. Jaydanson said that he's working on sound settings right now. Then he'll do name tags. Okay, we're good. We're doing good. Ooh, this looks really cool. Actually, I like this.
Hyperspeed SA2.
Oh yeah, just a weird
Oh
clip.
no.
Yeah, so pretty much since I was on 144 hertz, but it's supposed to run at 60 hertz, it's pretty much running 3 times faster than it should.
Oh no. This sucks.
Yeah, and I don't think I can fix it unless I can somehow
Oh,
like find a way to cap it. It's really weird. Honestly, like this is just painful to play like this, like in like hyper speed. Maybe tomorrow in the morning? No. I totally thought it was gonna be ready tonight.
it looks messy.
Dude, get it done tonight, please. Wait, I need rings, please. This was a great clip.
Gosh. Alright, watch this stupid my video.
Wait, what is it? Oh.
And Sonic
This is
moving
so
at
great.
1 hertz. I found my chows! Oh my god.
Wait, you found them? You found them?
Yes!
Oh. That's good. So, apparently we actually... So we gotta wait a bit longer, I guess. As in, like, in the morning. So who knows, I might be able to stream in the morning. Because I'm honestly pretty tired too, so I'm just gonna go to bed.
Wait, you're going to bed?
Yeah, because he says he said in chat, Jaydanson, that we have to wait till the morning, I think.
Oh my god, why is this app so glitchy?
Okay, I gotta go. Bye.
Alright, bye.
Okay. Oh, I ain't going to bed until this is done. Well, I'm going to bed when it's done. Well, before it's done. So I hope you enjoyed